Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very important subject, and that is the importance of balancing physical health with spiritual health. And more often than not, most of us, we tend to incline towards one thing or the other. A person is inclined towards physical health, so he's going to be at the gym all the time and making sure that his body is in great shape, and his spiritual health is neglected. And then a person who's worried about his spiritual health, he neglects his body. Whereas we have to keep a balance between the two. We look at hadith and stories of the Sahaba, we will find that, of course, they are our role models. We find that both things are focused upon and both things are taken care of. There's a story about Salman al-Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu when he went to visit Abu Darda radiallahu anhu. He went to visit him, he found his wife Darda, and she was dressed in shabby clothes. So he asked her, "What's wrong, oh Darda? Why are you dressed like this?" So Darda replied that my husband Abu Darda, he has no inclination towards me. All he focuses on is fasting during the day and Qiyamul Layl at night. So therefore I have no need to dress up for him. Therefore I'm dressed in these shabby clothes. So Salman al-Farsi waited for Abu Darda to come back, and when Abu Darda came, he prepared some food for him. Salman al-Farsi, he pleaded with him to sit and eat with him. He said, "I'm fasting." So Salman al-Farsi said, "I'm not going to eat until you eat with me." So he basically forced him to break the fast, and this is permissible when you are fasting a nafil fast. So they both ate together, and then it was time to go to sleep, so they went to sleep. After a little while, Abu Darda got up to pray Qiyamul Layl. So Salman al-Farsi told him, "Go back to sleep." After a while, he got up again. Salman told him, "Go back to sleep." And then in the last third of the night, they both got up, prayed tahajjud, and then after that, Salman al-Farsi said to Abu Darda, "Oh Abu Darda, your body has a right upon you, your wife has a right upon you, your family has a right upon you. So فَأَعْطُوا كُلَّ ذِي حَقٍّ حَقَّهُ, give everyone its due right." So we see from this that Islam teaches us to keep a balance. It teaches us to take care of our physical health. It tells us to make sure that the rights of our family are fulfilled. There's another story about 3 Sahaba who decided that they needed to do much more than the Prophet ﷺ, because they felt that the Prophet ﷺ's sins were completely forgiven and he was going to go to paradise. So to compete with him, they said, "We have to do much more." So one of them swore that he's going to fast every single day of the year. Another one, he swore that he would not go near his wife. Another one swore that he would not sleep all night, and he would pray Qiyamul Layl all night. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard about this, he became very angry at them and told them that this is not right. You have to give each and every rightful person who is due his right, you have to give it. So your body has a right upon you, so you have to sleep. Your family has a right upon you, you have to fulfill that right, etc., etc. So from these hadith we see that Islam actually teaches us to keep a balance between our physical life and spiritual life. Now, inclination towards the physical aspect and depriving the spiritual aspect, it is also wrong. Our spiritual aspect it needs to be nourished. Our spirit, just like our body needs food, our spirit needs food. And the spiritual nourishment is first and foremost the fara'id, the obligation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put upon us. According to a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ told us that the closest thing that a person gets to through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is through the fara'id. Meaning, a person, he prays his fara'id, this maximizes his closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the biggest spiritual nourishment there is. Many people, what they tend to do, when it's, for example, last 10 nights of Ramadan, or even the 27th night of Ramadan, they'll come in and assume that it's Laylatul Qadr automatically, and they will spend all night in worship, and the rest of the year they're not focusing on the more important fard. Whereas even if Laylatul Qadr was every night of the year, and we were engaged in ibadah, in nafil ibadah all night, and we were neglecting the fara'id, the obligation, that worship all night would not be sufficient for making up for the fara'id. So the fara'id, the obligation, is the most important thing that we need to focus on. And then after that, in our free time, we need to focus on nafil ibadah also. This gets a person closer and closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the shortcomings that we have in our fara'id, they are made up by the nafil ibadah that we do. So nafil ibadah, it includes the recitation of the Quran, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the salat upon the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, istighfar. And basically we need to try to make a timetable, a schedule for ourselves, so that we do this on a regular basis. You know, a person, for example, he thinks, okay, I'm going to do dhikr today. So he does dhikr, and then the rest of the week or another month, he neglects himself from making dhikr. Whereas if he has a schedule in place, that he says, I'm going to do a minimum of this dhikr every day. I'm going to do a minimum of 100 istighfar a day. The Prophet ﷺ, according to one riwayah, he used to make 70 istighfar daily. According to another riwayah, 100 istighfar daily. So a person thinks to himself, I need to make a minimum of 100 istighfar daily. I need to make a minimum of 100 salawat upon the Prophet ﷺ. I need to make a minimum of glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tasbih, tahmeed, tahleel, as much as possible, at least 100 times a day. So when a person, he sets this into his schedule, then it becomes easy for him. Similarly, the recitation of the Quran, a person should think to himself, I'm going to do a minimum of, for example, a quarter juz a day. If a person cannot do that, then 2 pages a day. But minimum, a person needs to set a minimum for himself, so that he is giving his spirit, his soul, the nourishment that he needs, and he feels the internal tranquility, the bliss and the peace that comes with that. So I hope and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me and you the tawfiq to understand and practice what I've said. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.